Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I am your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today sharing her story is Tricia Brendel. Her daughter, unfortunately, had Pearson syndrome and unfortunately died at a very young age. And we're going to be talking about that today. But it's also what led her to write the book, Heartbeat of Love. It's how she lost her faith and refound her faith, and how it has given her the strength to go through this all that she has gone through today. She says, how she discovered that deeper faith, especially amidst the tragedy and loss of her daughter's death. She hit a rock bottom. She went through 18 months of her life existing and trying to be a mother and a wife, and she was numb beyond all measure. She felt alone. Yet she sensed that she wasn't, and in her experience of supernatural happenings and research, she began, when she faced that death, that there is reassurance of knowing that your loved one is never alone and never away from you. And she encourages others to fight that light, find that light in the darkness and embrace that love. And we're going to be talking about that journey of rediscovering that heart, that spirit, that love, that God within us that is always there. We're the ones that let it go. And yes, it's quite understandable that you let it go at a time of absolute pain, because it's always trying to understand why. Why did this happen? And why did it happen to such an innocent? And the questions that come out of the grief that comes there, and we all have to grieve. It's very, very important. But when you actually let that light back into you, ignite your heart and soul, let God's faith back into you, that's when you really truly open up to actually understanding that although the physical may be gone, the spirit never ever leaves us. So thank you for coming and sharing your story here today with us, Tricia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's start off with actually understanding what Pearson's syndrome is, because I think it's a very, very rare and I don't know anything about it.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Pearson syndrome, at the time of my daughter's diagnosis, well, still rare today, but they said at that point there were 5 in the United States and 10 worldwide.
Wow.
So the resources were very slim to none to even understand this disease. But what they explained to me is syndrome, the reason it's called Pearson syndrome is because there's so many diseases that lie underneath it.
Mm.
Most of the children will experience some of the same diseases, but some may not. So with Elly, she had monthly blood transfusions.
Wow.
She had multiple hospitalizations due to electrolyte imbalances, due to Fanconi syndrome and chronic diarrhea. She had respiratory issues. She suffered with lactic acidosis, and then she had sepsis. And there's so much more that entailed that she went through, and that is in the Heartbeat of Love. But just to give you a kind of an idea of this syndrome, so lactic acidosis, is when you work out really hard. So you're doing aerobics or you're running a marathon, and you know how your muscles hurt.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so this is what these children experience all the time because their lactic acid level is very high. So and that's in the Heartbeat of Love too. It gives you the ranges of what theirs is supposed to be, the normal range. But like I said, they're very high. And as far as Fanconi syndrome, what they explained to me is it has to deal with the kidneys. So her kidneys were like buckets that had holes in them that could not contain the sodium. So they had to treat her with a base called sodium bicarbonate to help balance the electrolytes. But Pearson syndrome, there's no cure. The doctors, they treat symptoms only.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that is what is so hard. Yes.
Was it something that was diagnosed right from the word go? I mean, did they know it straight away, or is it something that she had a whole load of complications and you didn't know what it was?
That is correct. At 3 months of age, she started to become very pale and she had a high fever. And what they said is that's abnormal for a 3 month old because they still have the
Mm.
antibodies of the mother. So they were doing tests on her and they are actually testing her for leukemia.
Wow.
So I would say 3 months is when she started showing symptoms. And then I think she was diagnosed at 4 or 5 months of age.
Being such a rare disease, I mean, it kind of even getting the identification of what was wrong, I imagine was almost like a fluke in itself too.
It is amazing you said that because that's exactly what they said to us, that this is just a fluke. They
Mm.
couldn't tell us how it happened, just that word. That was a
Yeah,
fluke, and that was hard to comprehend.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And knowing
Hmm.
there's so few people in the world who have this, and it's always a question, but how or why? And then of course is, did we do anything different? You know, my daughter has a 3-month-old child with Down syndrome, and of course
Hmm.
it's that extra chromosome, right? And it's like
Right.
there's nothing that you've done. It's the luck of the draw. Really, it really is.
Right.
There is nothing you could have done differently. It just happens. Is this type of thing that kind of thing as well? Like it's just so rare that it just happens? I mean, what causes it? Do they know?
I don't think they really know. They wanted to test the mother's side of the family for a mitochondrial disease, which this is what Pearson syndrome is. And thank goodness that my family and I did not have that problem. Because just imagine thinking that you could have given this
I
to your
know.
child, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, out of your control. This is not like
Right, it is.
alcohol, or drug fetal type thing. This is
Right,
not something you're doing, and who knows what kind of DNA thing comes up from the past, right? So, I think that's the
exactly.
first thing I think a parent needs to understand, no blame, no shame. You know,
That's right.
it's and then when it's something so rare, then of course the explaining it to everybody and then how did it happen and all of that, you've got all of that to deal with, but you're dealing with something literally in the dark because nobody knows much about it. And, as you write in your piece, is that there was no cure because it's not a disease that's really known much about. So, how long did your little one have?
She passed at 19 months of age,
Mm.
but she battled. They
Oh, yeah.
actually didn't think she would make it that long. So this book brings out a lot of miracles,
Yes.
that we've had with Elly. And the doctors were amazed.
Is she your only child?
No, we have two other daughters.
Are
They're
they
in their
older or
40s.
younger?
They're older. Elly
Right.
was our youngest. Yes,
So, I mean, that's hard on them as well. You're going through your grief, you're battling with her. And of course, with the older children, I don't know how much older they were at that time, they're not sure what to do. They want to love her, they're scared to love her, they want to fight the battle for her. I imagine that the ray of emotions, it's not just the mothers, the entire family.
oh, it is. It was the whole family. With my girls at that time, they were 9 and 7. And I talked to the doctor about that because when Elly passed, my girls were celebrating
Yeah,
and they were having fun and enjoying. And I couldn't understand. I thought maybe there was something wrong. And he said, no, they're actually protected from the grieving
yeah,
process. But think about that. They're children of God. So
yes.
we are to celebrate, right? I've learned so much through my daughters and my
Exactly.
family.
Well, that was her
Mhm.
journey. That was her journey, right? And this is
It
as hard
was.
as it is for parents that lose children, especially, or any lessons we get in life. You kind of almost the pain of the journey, the bigger the lesson. And some of our children here are just meant to come in as that blazing light, of illumination. But
Yeah.
it's hard, the kind of lesson that they leave you. And with your children at that age too, they instinctually know that she was in a better place because she wasn't in pain anymore, but they haven't got the intellect to articulate that. Whereas we're kind of also feeling, there's the relief that they're no longer in pain. They fought that battle for so long, but then there's the other side of it. I can't show any of that joy for her passing because then what kind of mother would I be? So again, all those kind of emotions that you're going through.
That is well said, Sarah. Well said.
So obviously you lose yourself in that point. You go through the anger, you go through the, why you, why your daughter, why everything else. And as you said, you became rather disconnected for a long time. You have to step into the role of being a mother. So that I imagine that was an automation, right?
It
But
was. Yes.
so
It's
you're
an
going through the
automatic.
process, yeah, but the heart and soul is completely shut down because the heart's trying to heal and the soul can't come through a heart that's shut down. That's
Right.
that the divine cannot get through that heart unless it is willing to open up. And so this went on for about 18 months.
It did. And then one day I just woke up and I knew it was time to move forward.
Right.
And so I applied for a position and it went like clockwork. Like always, God is good. And
Yes.
I had to walk my journey before I could write this book.
Yes.
And the reason that was for him to show me all the steps that I had to take to learn so I can share that with others. So it's a
Yeah.
testimony. I
Yes.
can't say that everyone will go through what we went through, but
Hmm.
I've learned to pray for people. I have
Hmm.
learned to share the joy because in the darkness, you have the light, and that's
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
He said, I am the light of this world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. I hold on tight to that scripture because
Right.
that speaks a lot. And
Yes.
when I look back, Elly was never alone, and neither
Right.
were we.
No. The thing is the human self feels helpless,
Right.
but the divine self knows there's a purpose.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, whichever your divinity is, whichever your faith is, it's having that faith. And when you are immersed in that faith, then it is the spirit, it is the light. Sandy, saying positions on me. That was weird. I know you're on my left and now you're on my right. That's weird. But it is that understanding when you're in spirit, right?
Mhm.
Of understanding that soul, that divine, that you're not alone. I've got you. That the spiritual essence of you is having the human journey, and the human journey is hard, and there are many obstacles that we have to go through. But in understanding what we're meant to learn from each one of those obstacles, only strengthens our divine presence here, our soul presence here, and so. As hard as it is, when you finally switched and I'm going to live now, I'm going to take everything I've learned from this now. How long did it take you before, okay, now it's time to tell the story?
Well, it took probably 20 years. What happened is after I lost Elly, I just felt like I didn't want her death to be in vain. I
Right.
wanted something to show that she was here and she lived and she was happy. So I sat down and I wrote an article.
Hmm.
And it was so in depth, Sarah, so detailed that if you didn't have a medical background,
Right.
you wouldn't be able to understand that.
Yeah.
But what I've learned was it's all in God's timing. So
Hmm.
I set that article aside. And then after my journey, which was about 20 some years, I had that leading of the Holy Spirit. And he sat me down and we started to write different messages. It wasn't actually
Mm.
starting in the book yet.
Right.
It was a process, a learning process. Like I need to get your attention and this is
Yes.
training, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yes. So we got through that training and I was understanding the cues. So one day I got out my journals that I would always keep on my daughter for the doctors about her progress and her relapse. And then with some of his messages that we wrote together, and I sat down and I will tell you, with his leading, the leading of the Holy
Hmm.
Spirit, it just
Flowed.
came to life on
Yeah.
paper. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Because the
it was,
time was
I
right.
couldn't overwhelm
Yeah.
it. Yes, absolutely. But it didn't happen all at one time. It,
Right.
it was in stages
Mm.
because I would get done with Elly's story, which was very hard
Yes.
to write and go through. And then I'm thinking, so, okay, Lord, how are we going to bridge this now to my journey?
Hmm.
And it just flowed. And
Yeah.
it just amazes me what God can do. He's good.
Oh yeah, no, that's I've just written my memoir, and it was, I was going to do it this way and that way and every way. And then I just, said, okay, I'm taking 3 weeks off work, and I'm just going to put my fingers to the keys and just let come out what came out. Right. And I think that
Right,
is
right.
the best way, because that is you getting out of your head, and
Yes,
it's your divine heart spirit
yes,
writing through you. You are channeling everything
that's correct.
that etc. If we get into our heads, we either get caught up with what we're writing, or we start questioning it, or we start criticizing it, or get too caught up in the emotion of it. When we just
Yeah,
download it and let it be, it's the truth. All you have to do now is refine it. All right. But it is the truth of who you are, the essence of who you are, and what you are needing to share. I've just done a show on the importance of story writing, of us sharing our story, because whether somebody's
yeah,
going through the same disease or not, there is somebody out there that is going through a battle with their child, or a battle with something else, and
right.
learning how you managed it and how you opened up to it. Or, God forbid it is a child, but very often it's that looking at that child differently. Because what we
Right.
want to do is save them, save them, save them. But sometimes we don't realize they're here to save us.
That is correct. That is correct. And I have to tell you, Deuteronomy 31:8, I believe, the scripture says, the Lord says, I go before you always. I will
Mm.
never leave you, nor will I forsake you.
Yeah.
So do not be afraid. And I read that, and I was amazed at how that touched my heart.
Hmm.
Because Jesus, when we're in our valleys, we're in our dark valleys, we're never alone.
No.
He is our light. He's always with us. But I never realized that. See, when we were going through this journey with Elly, I had my faith, but
Hmm.
not like I have it now. I didn't
Right.
realize asking Jesus into my heart and the Holy Spirit coming in
Yes.
was such an amazing moment in my life. But we stood on what we knew, and
Yes.
God's going to meet us where we're at. He's going to meet us
Exactly.
there.
And also give us the understanding. This is why this is called self-discovery wisdom, because when we step into God's wisdom, we then actually understand the knowledge of what we know. But we have
Right.
to look at it through the wise eyes, not
Mhm.
just through the knowledge eyes, because the knowledge eyes become too clinical, or too limited. When we look through the divine eyes, it becomes more clarity, right? And
Oh,
you were
good.
talking about, coming through you. This is the thing is I had a period in my life where I was in darkness, and I could see the light over there, and I didn't want to go out there because out there was pain. And eventually I had to come out, and it was very, very bright and blinding for a while, and I felt the shadows chasing me. And then it was, I now can go into the darkness anytime. I have no fear of it, for I am the light. And that is what the divine shows you. It is when you realize that you are never alone, and you are the light in your darkness, the essence of your faith, of the divine, is the light within you. It doesn't matter where we are or what we're facing. It's not on the outside. It's always within us.
Well said, Sarah. Well said. Yes, that is so true. But I think it takes a journey for one to understand and realize that. And
Yes.
even though I'm talking about my book and everything, I went through it, I'm still not perfect.
Nope.
I'm
Nope.
still I'm still walking that path.
Yes.
Sometimes I do find myself afraid.
Mm.
But the difference with this now is I go to Jesus.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
when I'm afraid, I go to him. And before, I would just fear, and then my emotions would take over, and my flesh would take over, and
Mm.
then wow, it
Yeah.
was really bad.
Well, this is the thing, and I'm always saying emotions are an indication of where we're at. So it's a good indication. I feel sad, I feel mad, I feel, this or that. Okay, you feel that. Why do you feel that? All right. Okay, that's just a feeling. You can let it go. Or that feeling has meaning. But what happens is that we become emotional over the emotions. And
Yes,
we forget what we're being emotional about. And I think this is the human tendency that we have, because we lose faith in
right.
ourselves, right? And when we travel with faith and we have that emotion, we're easier to step back and go, why? Oh no,
Mhm.
I can let that go. It's just a momentary thing. Oh no, that's actually indicating something I need to deal with. And you've got the strength and the courage to deal with it. But
Right.
just if you're just in the human realm without the divine, you're going to react to it, and it's going to get blown out of proportion completely.
That's true. And that's key is you react instead of stepping back and looking through the eyes of Jesus or standing on prayer or just praise and worshiping him in the joy or in your storm.
Right.
We tend to react.
Mm-hmm.
But I found now that, well, I still react, but not, I can bring myself back out of that
Yes.
reaction,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Yeah,
just like
there's the
Paul
hand
said.
within you that pulls you back. And
Yeah.
this is another thing. It used to be that, if you were with God, you had to go to God's house. Now we realize the house is within us. It
Amen.
doesn't matter where we are at any time, even
Right.
on the moon, God is with us, right? It
Yes,
is,
it is.
we've got to realize we are made up of particles of. So
Right.
we are the essence of. And so, we are godly creatures because we're a part of God. Whatever your faith is, we're a part of that. And
Right.
that's why we're never alone, because it's
Mhm.
always a part of us. It's not on the exterior, it's the interior of who we are. It's when we feel that core right in the center of our chest of truth and love. And we can say, no, it just is. Don't need to clarify, don't need to justify. It just is.
Yes. And find that joy because God is spirit. And
Yes.
so are we,
And
you
we're
know.
meant to be in spirit. My analogy is that when we open up to that source of love, God, universe, spirit, because I'd like to be encompass everybody here, that divine truth comes through us and it resonates in our heart and truth. Our heart knows that truth. It's then given to our spirit to go into action, and our minds will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We're surrendering that wisdom to the knowledge, to know what knowledge we need in the moment without saturating ourselves with a lot of knowledge that isn't serving us in the moment.
Hmm. I call that my heart brain. Instead of
Yeah,
using my mind brain, I use
yes,
my heart brain.
yes,
And it keeps me at an even keel.
yes. Truth brain, right? It's the truth
Yes,
brain.
yes, I
So,
like that. Yes.
yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter how many years pass when you lose a child or you lose someone you really love. That sorrow is always there. I know you're with me in spirit. I can feel you. You will always be with me. But it's the touch, the tactile, the hold that we miss. And it's perfectly okay to sometimes even either get mad or get sad. Again,
Yeah.
go through that emotion. Don't hold it back. Don't think, oh, it's been 10 years or 20 years. I should be over this by now. No,
Yes.
you're over the initial pain and anguish, but the
Hmm.
sorrow of losing that child will always be with you.
Well, because they were a part of you.
Yes,
Like I said,
yes,
a piece of me died with Elly that day.
yeah,
And I say to everyone, feel, go through the
yes,
process. Don't
yes.
stop it because
No,
you're meant to go through that.
yeah.
It's just where you're going to go from there. Don't, it's okay to be mad and it's okay to be sad, but don't get stuck there.
No, that's the
You
key.
know?
Don't
Yeah,
get stuck. We are fluid creatures. We're constantly meant to be in flow. And the
right.
moment you get stuck in something, it starts contaminating and manifesting into something else, right?
Yeah,
How
yes.
did you girls go through this? I mean, they're going to, even as kids, they're going to see it and feel it a different way, but now they're adults and they can look back in reflection. Um, were there different levels of reaction through the years?
Yes, when they actually sat down to read the book and realized everything that we went through,
Mm,
I think that gave them a found new light as well.
yes.
And now that they're mothers, they could really
Yeah.
understand and connect.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I think it brought fear to them, thinking,
Mm,
"Oh my goodness, what if I lost my
yeah.
child?" We all have that fear, don't
Oh
we?
God, yes. I mean, yes, that's the worst, is the worst thing for any parent, right? We don't want our children to go before us. It's a natural feeling as a parent. Yes.
Right. And I prayed that every night that I would, Lord, watch over my children.
Yeah.
I never
Yep.
wanted to lose a child, and
Exactly.
that reality came true.
Yeah.
But I also believe, Sarah, that we all have a purpose and a plan,
Yeah.
and it's always in God's timing.
Yes.
And in the
It
heartbeat of
doesn't
love,
matter. Doesn't matter what our agenda is,
oh, right?
right?
Right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is so true.
God laughs.
I have learned that if you might be going kicking and screaming, but he's going to get you to
Oh
where
yeah.
he needs
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be,
When your
right?
tantrum is over, I'll show you the road. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
they found a new appreciation,
Yes.
because they were so young at the
Yeah.
time.
I
And
mean,
the
I'm
girls,
sure they had their own indication of loss, but also, the poor sister's life wasn't like they were healthy one moment and then gone. The
right,
poor sister's life was of struggle all the way through. And so, there is that back of the mind, they're no longer in pain, right?
right.
And it's if a child is being taken suddenly through car accident or this or that, and they were the light of life, there was no preparation for it. And in a way, they always knew that this could be her journey.
And it was hard for them, for the girls, because they never knew if we would be home when they
Yeah,
got home from school, because we never knew when we were going to take off. We were in the hospital more than we were at home.
yeah.
So that was hard on them, but our family all came together and worked together, and we were so blessed.
That's what
Very,
family is about, being there
yeah,
for each other. That's the time to do it. And whether it's blood family or extended family, this
correct.
is when we step up.
Hmm.
And in a way, that is kind of God's calling as well. Our call to you, the people that you need, right?
Right,
So
right. Yes,
and it could be very unexpected sometimes of the people that are around you, because it's not people you necessarily would have reached out to, but they reach out to you because that's their calling. So it's don't question it, just allow, right?
very well said. Yes. And our family became the doctors and nurses in the hospitals.
Ah,
And the one that we went to quite often, they're very dear to us. I mean, they
yes,
were just as close to us as any of our other relatives. And Elly meant a lot to them as well. She
yes,
she shared her love wherever she went, and her strength and her courage. And everyone might say, well, how does that happen when she was so young?
yeah,
But going through this disease process, this syndrome, she was still able to smile.
yes.
She had this little snoot,
They're
so
incredible, aren't they? They are
yes,
an incredible light despite what they're going through. Yeah,
yes, children of God. She had a purpose.
yeah.
She had a plan. Yes,
And often you wonder, well, why? What's this purpose all about? Couldn't you have done it in a different way? And sometimes it's not for us to know.
no,
It is
you're
just that
right.
it's just the journey that you are going through, and the results that come from that journey is the journey that was meant to be. But the making sense out of it, sometimes just don't try. Don't try and make sense out of anything, right? Because from the
Mhm.
human intellect, we can't often make sense out of thing. But God's intellect, when we look at it from hindsight and from a distance, we then understand it from a different point of view, but not from the human side.
I agree. I agree. And that's why I say sometimes we may not know until we get to heaven. And
Yeah.
it's okay to just trust in the Lord, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And
Sometimes
then,
that
that fact that, we will meet again, right?
yeah,
We will always
yeah,
meet our loved ones again. And also, as you
right,
said, she may have died, part of you may have died with her, but at the same time, part of her still lives on within you,
correct.
right? And so
Right.
we've got to remember this is, I'm one of those people that when someone dies, they call me because I can be sympathetic or um, compassionate about it, but at the same time, I'm about look to the light, look to the light. It's always the memories and the gift that they gave you, they're always within you. Yes, cry, yes,
Right.
feel it, but always hold on to the gift of what they were, because that is the purpose of what they were there for, the gift of what they were.
That is so true. Well said, Sarah. Couldn't have said that better. Perfect. It's perfect.
Again, we do not make sense out of it. Obviously you've brought awareness to Pearson syndrome that, is, I don't know how rare it still is. Has it grown in numbers? Has it over the years become a better understanding of what it is, or?
Well, I'll be quite honest. It took me a while to even be able to research it
Hmm.
again, because it was so hard. But I researched it a month or so ago, and I believe there's 1,000 according to the internet.
But still not
Yeah,
much. And is it, medically at all? Because generally, unless there's thousands and thousands of people, they don't even look at it and put research into it.
I know.
So, unfortunately, so for many people, they really need to be more prepared to know that they're going to have to let go
Right.
rather than try and keep alive. And I think this is something that also a lesson to have, is that when people are in suffering, it's okay for them to go. We don't have to suffer. We're going to struggle through life, but nobody should have to suffer. And
Yeah.
if people are in suffering, very often they're staying around for us.
Right.
And it's not fair to them. You know, we
Mm-mm.
should say it's okay to let go. You'll always be with me. I'm sad to see you go, but it's okay for you to go.
Right. Right. See, with my perspective on all of this is I was mad at God for 2 weeks. Um, and then my husband said to me, the
Only
only
two
person
weeks?
that well,
I might have been
two
mad a
weeks,
bit longer.
2 weeks. I was, yes, 2 weeks. I know. I know. But my husband said, he said, Tricia, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah,
But he never realized the fire that he lit in my heart that day.
right,
So
right.
then I went on a journey and I was searching and I kept researching and I was in all kinds of books
Mm,
until I actually got to the Bible. But I firmly believe this, that God is our creator. And like I said, he created us with a purpose and a plan.
hmm.
He didn't kill my daughter. He
No,
saved her. It
yes,
was, I believe it's John 10:10. The thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
yes.
And when I realized and understood that,
Hmm.
that brought a new light.
Yeah,
I've walked through many types of light, and that really brought a clear understanding to my heart.
yes.
So then I was able to move on, and I read a lot, Sarah. I enjoy reading,
Hmm.
but my favorite book is the Bible
Hmm.
because I'm taught new things every day,
Right.
every day.
I mean, it's always from a different perspective, isn't it? It's, you can live life one way and see it this way today, and tomorrow you could be doing the same thing, but it shows a different light on it, right? And
Yes,
that's, and I
yes,
think that's the thing with life is just don't get so stuck in rigidity, either in faith, because where faith goes wrong is where people take the words literally and then hold it against other people.
right.
Right? That's where faith goes wrong with me. When the moment it becomes something that you're damning and judging others with, then I think we're losing the context of what love of God is. Because God is love,
He
right?
he is. He
And
is.
and he doesn't do anything out of malice. We do.
Right.
We do that. He doesn't do that. He's always love. So anybody that's, condemns somebody else in God's name is not the God I want to know, or the people I want to know, because God is, hold you accountable. Yes, we're all held accountable, but
Mhm.
there isn't that persecution and everything else that keeps going there. So
Correct. And I think it's hard for people to understand that type of love,
yeah,
God's love. They're
yes,
used to the worldly love, and that's not what God is about.
no, no,
Just imagine, Sarah, he gave his one and only son for us.
yeah,
Could you? Could
right,
I?
yes,
Um, Abraham in the Old Testament, he was willing to sacrifice his son Isaac.
mm,
Then there was me, Sarah. No, no,
mm,
I begged and pleaded with God. I wasn't
yeah,
willing to sacrifice my
right,
God. So
yes,
imagine that profound love that he can give each and every one of us, even when we don't deserve it. He
yeah,
still gives it.
yeah.
That's what
I
I want
think
other
the
people.
understanding of that kind of love is that it transcends the matter. Right?
Mhm.
As I said, we are this beautiful divine spirit having a human existence.
Right.
But in all of it, the divine essence of who we are is
Mhm.
who we are. So when the matter goes, when the body goes, it was just the vessel in which we traveled in. And so when you
Correct.
understand that love never dies. That love only grows. That love only transcends, ascends to something stronger. But it's through the experience of the matter, the body. And when we do have loss, we're missing the matter, the
Mhm.
vessel in which it was in. But if we're truly attuned to the spirit, we never lose the spirit.
That's right. So after your body gives out, is that all?
Right.
No, I don't believe that.
Absolutely not. No,
No, life goes on.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Always,
Yes.
always goes on. And very often we do come back for another lesson in life. You're right. And that's part of it. It's part of, I actually think it's almost a part of the divine's evolution is to
Mhm.
have a human experience.
Right.
Because what you actually experience through the need to eat, to sleep, the physical struggle or the pain or the joy in life is not something that the divine essence as a spirit can feel in that way. So I think
Right.
it's the soul having a lesson living
Mm-hmm.
through the human body. And when the human body decides to align with the soul, and this particular show genre is ignite your heart and soul, come together as one. Two
Mm-hmm.
individual things come together as one and interlock. It's unstoppable. It is so
Yeah.
utterly combined, right? But it is that experience that both of us are having on both sides of the scale. And when we put it together, then we're beautiful, divine human beings that come
Mhm.
from a place of compassion and love. And that is God's message.
It is. It would be so amazing if everyone could see that message.
Yeah.
And that's
Live
why
that message. Yeah.
Mhm. I believe that's why there's everyone has a purpose and a plan, and you share your testimony to help others.
Yes.
And that's what I'm hoping that this book will do, is to
Right.
reach out and touch their hearts.
And
Because
then, this isn't just for people who just follow Jesus.
right,
Right?
no, no,
It
no,
doesn't matter
no,
what your divinity is. The
right,
faith is having faith in something that is love, that is better, that is wiser, whatever you want to call it. Because in the end, it's just a different connection.
it
Somebody may have
is.
a connection with Allah that is just as strong as your connection with Jesus, but ultimately we're looking at the same divine energy. So it isn't just for people who are just along that line. That is your modality, that is your vessel of love, and it will connect very much with people like that. But you want it to open up also to other people and other
Everyone,
faiths that are
everyone.
going to go that way as well. We have something very bizarre who people are watching this today. I'm terribly sorry. For some reason, Zoom keeps putting up the hand.
I
And
keep
every
seeing
time
that
it does
too.
that, it switches our channel over, which is something really weird. So I'm sorry, we're not at a disco, we're not going psychedelic, but I've never had this before. So it could very well be your daughter in there saying, I'm here putting my hand up.
Like, I don't understand.
But I've never had this before. It's really bizarre. But the hand keeps going up when it does. It switches the vision thing over. But I always take those type of things as signs.
Mhm.
They're things that are kind of saying the spirit is saying, I'm here and I'm going to give you a sign I'm here. I've never
Right.
had this before. Here we're talking about your daughter, and here it goes again. The hand goes up again. We're probably about to switch again. So very well could be your daughter
Yes.
saying, You're talking about me. Yes, yes, yes. I was here to show that out of struggle you can find love, with God's faith. And so,
Right.
it's maybe her saying, That was my purpose. Don't only remember the pain and the suffering.
Right.
Remember the smiles and the joy and the reason why I was here.
Right. Absolutely. And I agree about signs. And
Mm,
I'll give you for instance, I'm a nurse now. I went
mm,
back to school and I became a registered nurse, but all the doctors and nurses were saying, do it, Trish, do it. And I'm thinking, no, I cannot do chemistry. I'm not good at math. No, I'm not doing that. Well, that was my plan, but that
right.
wasn't God's plan. So it was so cool. Everything seemed to happen to me in July. I went into
Really.
my job and it was July, and I said, I'm going to resign. I'm going back to school. I had no plan to do that, Sarah. That I
Yes.
just got up out of my desk, went to her, and she looked at me, and I'm thinking, what did I just do? I quit my job and I went to school in August. Now,
Right.
that's unheard of, to get everything ready and prepared, right? And then I thought, okay, well, I'm supposed to be a pediatric nurse. So that's what I did. I was on the floor for a week and I'm like, this is not for me. I said, Lord, why did you have me become a
Yes,
nurse?
exactly.
It's not for pediatrics, right? But that's not where he wanted me. So it's amazing all these signs that happen if we just can see them. It's like miracles.
Yes,
Miracles happen every day.
absolutely.
Most of them are unnoticed.
But that's yes, we don't, and we keep waiting for the big thing, and it's all those
Yes,
tiny little things that are happening
yes.
all the time that we don't look at. And are
Mhm.
you still are you a pediatric nurse? Are you
No, I am not. I'm actually a school nurse, but I've
right?
gone through the emergency room, psychiatric. I
Uh,
loved every job that
right.
I was in. Yes,
But
yes,
you
there's
see, let's look at that again. Your daughter not only redirected you, but also prepared you, right? Because
she,
obviously, in all of those things, you're going to be facing that sorrow over and over again, emergency especially, right?
yes,
Even in school, where we see children that are that kind of don't physically die, but they die through abandonment or neglect, right? So,
Right,
so
right.
all of that that you went through with your daughter of that 18 months, that struggle, but then that epiphany of God is with me, the strength is with me. I understand the suffering. I
Mhm.
understand the pain. So I now, in that knowledge, can go and be somebody's hope.
That's exactly right. You give them the compassion that these
Yeah.
students need. You give them the
Yes.
love that they haven't
Yes.
received.
Right.
And it just brings joy, just
Yes.
joy.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think, I love it when people find that redirect. Some people have to go, we're about to change again. I think, nope, no, it's gone back down again. Really weird. Maybe it's the thumbs up from your daughter. Um, I think that some people keep ignoring the signs, and along comes a cosmic two by four. And
Yes.
in a sense, probably this is the path you were always meant to take, but the cosmic two by four was your daughter.
Hmm.
And you wouldn't have been able to take that journey without that. It wouldn't have been a path that you would have taken without that. But knowing even more so how much that when somebody's facing a loss of somebody, how much compassion and understanding is part of the healing, is part of the medicine at that
Yes.
time.
Yes.
You know, we go through the emergency and it's all so clinical, but where is somebody addressing the heart and soul of the patient or the person with them?
That's right. That's right. Because as anybody, and it doesn't have to be a nurse, you want to touch every part of them. So physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you want to connect with every person that you come across. And you know what, Sarah? It could just be giving somebody a smile, a
Oh,
hug.
huge,
It,
huge.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It doesn't have to be once again huge,
No,
just something small. And that's
touching
what it's
someone's
going to be.
hand. I
Yes,
got you. I'm here. Right?
absolutely.
I mean, that's getting back to connection. Everything is about connection. We need to connect with one another. The beauty of the human body is the fact that we can touch, feel, hold, hug, and and that spirit needs that physicality through us. We as human beings need that physicality, and just to let someone know you care. My
Right,
daughter has a 3-month-old child who has said has Down syndrome. And of course, they didn't know what to expect because with Downs, there could be a huge spectrum of problems.
right,
And
right.
the baby was breached, so they decided to do a C-section. And unfortunately, they broke his femur, bringing him out,
Oh,
which
geez.
is fairly rare. But this poor little thing is in a brace, body brace, that has his legs
Oh,
apart. They can't bath him, they can't put him in, and she can't breastfeed him because he has
oh,
to be held up and he's got this huge brace on his body. And so he was in ICU for 9 days. And 5 days with her with the C-section getting good thing. But it was all the unshores, the unshores of what was
oh,
going on.
yes,
A beautiful
yes.
thing is when her son, I was in charge of him, so I brought him in, and Dad took him to see his little brother, Louis, who he kissing the belly and knew Louis was coming. And Dad took him to meet him in the incubator, and he put his little hand in, and I got that photograph of his hand just touching his baby brother's tiny weeny little fingers.
Oh,
And
precious.
that love that he has for his brother is just so beautiful. So he didn't kind of question why he was in there. His brother Louis was there. That's it. And he's had a few problems. He has digestive problems, gagging problems, and he's got the floppies, where dystopia, I
Mhm.
think they call it, with the wobble. But another that we've been very, very lucky, and he's a wonderful little boy. But I think a lot of the time, and I'm sure it's what you went through, the
Right.
not knowing. And in your case, nobody knew anything about the disease. So how can you know? At least with Downs now, and through the beauty of social media, people sharing, people, maybe sometimes it could be too much because now you're looking for all the things that aren't happening, but at
That's
least
true.
you know what to look for.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. You had no idea what to look for at all.
No, we didn't. But that's what I say to the mothers. Follow your instinct
Yeah.
because it's within you. You know what's wrong with
Yes.
your child. You
Yes.
know what's the problem. Listen to it.
Yes.
Because doctors and nurses, absolutely, they know. They're scientific.
Yep.
They go through that. But there's something within each and every one of us. And as a mother, listen, don't
Yeah.
let them say, no, no, it's okay. When you know something's wrong,
Hmm.
right? So fight. Be your child's fighter, whatever it takes to be
Yes.
heard.
And
Mhm.
if one doctor totally dismiss you, then you keep going to another, or you look for the alternative. Not all
Yeah.
medicine is Western medicine. There are many other modalities out there, and faith is an enormous medicine. It doesn't mean it's the only
Absolutely.
one. Sometimes you need other medicines along with it, but faith is the wonderful guidance to those medicines that are going to work or ease the pain on. So I know it's very hard when you're anxious and you're worried, everything about you wants to crunch. And when you
Mm.
crunch, the flow is not within you. So you don't have clarity, you only have anxiety. So this is the time to literally take a breath, take that deep breath, let your chakras, like your back line, take that deep breath and just say, what do I need to know? What do I need to know? And be present. And then the clarity will come. Easier said than done when you're in a crisis, but it's
Mhm.
essential that you do it in order to know what you need to do.
And I wish I had that wisdom back.
Mhm.
Nighttime was the worst, and that's when I would fear.
Yeah,
And I don't know why that was, but every time, because I was basically the mother and the nurse at night. She
yeah,
had 16 hours of nursing, and then when they left, it was up to me. And the fear just overwhelmed me.
yeah.
So did I sleep much? No, I did not.
No.
But I still had that God gave me the strength to get through to what
Right.
I needed to do with
Yes.
her. But I can understand how you get so engulfed with fear.
Yes.
But just know that to step back now and breathe and pray is just an amazing thing. But when you're in that turmoil,
Yeah.
sometimes you just can't see that.
And this is where you do need someone to come in and maybe just throw their arms around you and give you a hug and say, okay, now let's breathe together. Let's breathe together. All right.
Yeah,
Okay. And then it's
absolutely.
like, okay, what can we do?
Got this. We
Right.
got, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's, a lot of people avoid people when they know children are sick or somebody's sick or because they don't know what to do. They feel helpless and they don't know what to say. And so they stay away. And sometimes it's just like, I'm just going to be here. You tell me what you need.
Right.
Can I make a meal? Can I do the dishes? Can I do your laundry? Can I wash your hair for you? It's just some of those mundane things that you've still got to do but you're dealing with that. Somebody taking them over or somebody just like literally washing your hair for you, kind of that whole therapeutic type thing that goes in there. So many
Absolutely.
little things that you can do that are everyday mundane things for you, but at this present moment can be a lifesaver for you.
Absolutely. I agree. Once again, it's the
Yeah.
little things that matter. I think that's what it comes down to. It's just looking through the eyes of Jesus and seeing the beauty that's around you and what you've been blessed with and what you have versus what you don't have.
Yeah.
Because we all have a lesson in life.
And the thing is like when somebody's in the middle of crisis, to say God has a purpose for this is the last thing they want to hear,
Oh, you were right. That is
right?
correct.
So,
Hmm.
at that time it is, why this has happened will be revealed one day. But
Hmm.
this is not the time to ask why.
No, sometimes just being silent and sitting with
Yes.
that
Yeah.
person, just pray with them in
Yeah.
silence.
Yes.
Just know that, just let them know you're there. I
That's
think
the
it's
biggest thing, isn't it? You may not have all the answers, it's just being there. And you
right.
never know what a hug can do. A hand on the back, a hand on the hand, a hug,
Mhm.
is just bringing them a cup of coffee or a glass of water.
Right.
Anything is just that it's just obviously you feel so, even if you've got your family around you, you still feel so isolated. And so
You
having
do.
somebody around you that isn't attached to you per se, like the family, it's someone that you can maybe take that deep breath with.
Right. I agree. I agree. And that's what we all need, don't we? We just need that love, that
So
touch.
through it, no matter what you battled with her, she knew she was loved. That smile always showed that she was loved, and she was loved. And I really do think it's her that's been putting the hand up all the way through this.
Well, now that you
Ah,
say it,
yes,
I
I
haven't seen that
agree.
hand.
Yeah. Oh, it's been coming up here, and when you watch the video, see we've been switching over. It's been really weird, but and I said I've never had this before, but I'm a firm believer in signs coming from beyond when they agree or
Right.
they want to participate. And I think that's her. But
Yeah.
it's like you are still helping children You've done it for emergency and everything else. But as I said, there are so many children in the school system that have been abandoned emotionally, physically, in some way that because you know what to look for, because of your compassion and your drive, you're going to see and be able to do things that others just don't see.
Right. That is so true. And that has happened. And I know some of the staff that I work with don't understand where I'm coming from, and
Right.
that's okay.
Yes.
But I still choose to do what I'm led to do. And that's where the key is I go where I'm led and how to approach them.
Yeah.
And it's not by yelling. It's by
No.
showing the love that they need. And once you earn the student's trust,
Yes.
how amazing is that? Then they feel open enough to talk to you, you
And it's
know?
all about empowering them to be
Yeah.
empowered in whatever negative situation they're in at home. It's to
Hmm.
empower them to have the strength and the abilities and to know that whatever their faith is, they're not alone. And that
Exactly.
and that whatever they're facing at home, they've got the strength within them to do that. But they're not going to find that strength until somebody opens that door for them. And that's what you are. You're that door opener to say, look how strong you are inside. Tell me what's going on. What do you
Mhm.
feel you can do in this time to stand up for yourself? How do you feel that you can rise up above this? And you're giving them the empowerment they need to face whatever they're facing because they're facing it for a reason. That's their life contract,
That's
right?
right.
But
That's right.
having those people along the way that say, I've got you, I care, here's the skill and tool you can use along the way is what life's journey is about.
It is. It is. And thank you so much for those kind words. That is so true. I never looked at it as opening the door for them.
Yeah. Because ultimately it's not doing it for them, it's helping them do it for themselves.
Right.
But it
Absolutely.
comes from acknowledging in the first place that they need someone to open that door for them.
And let them know that they're special.
Yes.
They're special
Yeah.
in everyone's eyes. And that's important for these kids to know and to see. They see a whole different atmosphere than what they
Yeah.
do at home. And
Exactly.
no fault of anybody's. It's
No.
just everything is happening in this day and age. So it's just nice for them to be able to come into school and feel safe.
Yeah, I
Feel
have a book series going to be coming out later this year, hopefully in time for Christmas, if not the new year. And it's called the Forgotten Children series. And it's various people that are working with kids. And it's that what we need to change, how we need to approach things, how we need to allow the child that is born with God's essence, born with that wisdom intuitively, and then how we put them in the school or other institutional type situations that tells them they cannot do it that way. Their voice doesn't matter. Right. And
right,
it's how to keep their voice alive and growing to be what they are meant to be here, and how we need to change that system and listen to our children because they're also here to teach us.
right, absolutely. And I've seen these students thrive, and after they graduated, they have made something from them or for
Exactly.
themselves, and it brings such joy, you
Yes.
know.
To see
Yeah,
them doing well. Yes. And
absolutely
sometimes you're just throwing seeds their way and they're growing them. And
right.
sometimes it's, you're giving them a whole plant, whatever's needed, right? But your strength
Seeds.
is the love and compassion of what you've had because of what you went through. But your strength is God's love, Jesus' love, that gives
Right.
you the strength to go and do what is needed to be done. So you know that
Yes.
that is what
Yes.
that's who's got your back.
Right. Right. Yes.
Right. So whatever you're doing, you're not doing it alone. However hard it is sometimes the things you have to face, you're never doing it alone.
Oh no, yeah. All glory goes to God.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we can't do it on our own if you think about it.
Yeah, but not all glory goes to God, because if we don't end up and become a part of God, you're in that glory too.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
all shared glory goes between God and
Okay.
myself. That's the what should be said.
Okay. I see how
Because
you're saying
otherwise
that.
God could do it on their own and wouldn't need you. God needs
Hmm.
you. So this is a partnership. This is a
Well,
very
that it is.
cohesive partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
glory goes to
Mm-hmm.
the two of you. You for listening, And letting his strength,
Obedience, yeah,
you are the vessel in which he has chosen to do the work, but you're working together.
I like how you said that. Very good, Sarah.
Never forget you and the empowerment of who you are
Never
and what
forget.
you're doing, right?
Yeah,
God's
yeah.
got your back, but don't forget you got a front.
He does, yes, exactly. Good way to look at it. Yeah.
So tell us about the book and you know how people can get hold of this book and what you hope that this book is going to do for people.
Okay. If you go to my website, www.patriciabrendel.com, it'll show you where my book is available, which is Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And I also write blogs on the beauty of God and God's love. So I hope that I hope if they go there, they'll find some comfort. And that's what I want my book for everyone who reads it is to find that there's light in the darkness,
Hmm.
that they never walk alone.
Right,
I believe that is key. I want them to see God's love is all around us, that there is a calling for each and every one of us. There's so much that this book speaks to,
yes,
which just when I sit back and think about that, there's so many different topics and objectives and how to look at things that I just want everyone to be able to read that and get that blessing that God has shared with everyone
right.
through this book. So
I like the byline you have here, sweet surrender, hope and love. And it is surrender. You know, when we surrender to the love of, the love
mhm,
from, you know, that's where we find our hope. That's where we find our love. But we have to get it out of our own way, which means that we do need to surrender to it, which is
we
really
do,
important.
we do,
And for
absolutely.
people who are listening, I want to spell your name. So Patricia, Patricia, Brendel, Brendel.com, for the people who are just listening on the audio here. And is your book in audio? Or is it just in paperback right now?
It's paperback and electronic.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And be good to do it in audio one day too, is right? Because there's
Yeah.
something about the voice for people too. You know, that the one of the pleasures I have in doing the work that I do is that I get to interview people who have had some of the worst things ever happened to them in life. And, you know, the suffering that they went through, but they changed it to the struggle. And they changed it into what do I need to learn from this? Who do I need to become of this? And whom do I need to serve now because of that? And
Right.
that, you know, I think is the most beautiful journey of life in itself. And the
Mhm.
most beautiful people are those that have gone through it, that have become who they are because they took that journey and now have stepped into that passion, compassion, and skilled and wise ones that are there for everyone else. So I always take my hat off to people who have willing to take the journey and share with others because you are the difference that someone is looking for. You are that light that somebody is looking for that's going through something that doesn't know how to move on. And knowing that you have, knowing what has become of it, knowing whom you're serving and benefiting today because of it, it doesn't take away from your daughter because you were in partnership with your daughter as well, as she is with you now, right? She's still
Right.
working with you now. And that is that it, whatever suffering we're going through and whatever loss we're going through, and sometimes it's the loss of self. Very often happens, you know, it's not always about losing somebody in your life, it's losing yourself and refinding. But going through that journey of your own self-discovery, stepping into your own wisdom, being that light for others is exactly what we need in the world. So thank you very much for taking that journey and finding the courage and the strength to write this book that makes a difference for others.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this. It was a joy talking with you.
And of course, you're on Facebook as well, which is the Heartbeat of Love book. So they can go to that as well. And you're
Facebook and Instagram, yes.
on Instagram, the same thing. And you've got a YouTube as well.
Just the video of the book is on YouTube.
Great, wonderful. You know, this is also a great gift to give to people that you know that are suffering. Sometimes you don't have the words, you don't know what to do. Just say, to give a book and say, when you're ready. When you're ready, it's there for you,
Right.
right? And it might be a year, might be 2 years, might be 20, it doesn't matter. It might be next week. but just knowing it's there, it's calling them. When it calls them, they
Yes.
will pick it up, right? But knowing it's there and says, sometimes the worst thing is we just don't know how to help other people when they need the help. And sometimes just simply being there, sharing this podcast with someone, right? All of these things are important. So we all have the power within us to help someone else. And the purpose of our life is to be of service to one another through the experiences and the gathering of wisdom that we've learned along the way.
Amen.
With God's
Amen.
love, right? We're never
Yes,
alone. It's always, it's
we are not.
not on the out, it's with us. Every single particle, every single vein of us is God's love. And in
Yeah.
that love, we can do anything.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much for sharing with us here today. It's been a beautiful, impactful story. And of course, if anybody wants to reach out to you, they can reach out through your site as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And
On the site that there's a place that they can send a message to me.
right.
And I would love to hear from anyone and
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
And it, is it whether it's loss of a child or the Pearson syndrome or whatever, it's just sometimes you just need to speak to someone and say, how did you do it? Right?
Right.
How did you let God in when you're so mad at him? All of that. So it's that's what it's about. That's what you're about now. So
That's
thank you
what I
so
am
much for sharing.
hoping. Thank you, Sarah. You have a great day.
I will do. And to everyone else out there, remember, you are not alone. God is always with you, whatever you wish to call it. I don't care. It is about your connection with the divine that is within you. And to remember, you are a partnership. You're here to work together. So whatever suffering you're going through right now, understand one day it's going to be your strength, your purpose that's going to help somebody else who's also going through that. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.